Welcome back everybody, Protobro here, infamous brother to Megabro, continuing on with the Let's Play of AGEOD Civil War II as the Confederacy. We've got various options here. If you recall from the last episode, we took Fort Sumter. Now we're going to proceed with this next turn here. So Virginia secedes from the Union. Alright, so that's good. Fort Sumter bombarded. The Confederacy's attempt to extend its sovereignty over forts that remained in Union hands received considerable public attention, both in the North and the South. When President Lincoln planned to send supplies to Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, he informed the state to avoid hostilities. South Carolina, however, asked the commander of the fort to surrender immediately, and on April 12, 1861. Rejected the offer. Confederate batteries opened fire, firing for 36 straight hours in the fort. The garrison returned fire, but it was ineffective and the fort surrendered. Fort Sumter rapidly became a symbol of rival definitions of sovereignty and honor. No corps before 1862, so this is frustrating for me because I like to have flexibility in my command, but we don't get corps until 1862 to simulate kind of the historical evolution of battlefield tactics. Until the American Civil War, armies of this size just simply hadn't been put onto the entire strategic battlefield. I mean, yeah, Napoleon had the Napoleonic Wars. They fielded pretty significant large number of troops, but there's usually like one and done battles. Whereas the American Civil War was a 4-year-long campaign, and so some changes have been made to address that. Okay, fortifications have been started in both Richmond and DC. And then we already saw that battle. Okay. Anything else of note? Okay, so we, let's see here. Okay, so Texas squadron was delayed 4 days before moving. United States is requisitioning food. We are behind demonstrations, so we succeeded on those demonstrations. We're building the telegraph line in Muskogee, Georgia. We are requisitioning food, horses, and troops or tools in those two areas as well, which will increase our money supply. Captured the batteries at Fort Sumter. Got some militia in Virginia, so these guys, the ones. So apparently, if we move these right away into here. Do all-out attack. Supposedly it's scripted, but we'll just take it. That's interesting. Okay. Gunboats in Louisiana. That's basically New Orleans, by the way. So 3 gunboats on a transport. Union issued war bonds. We issued war bonds. We've decided to declare a complete blockade. We have new generals in Richmond. Only 3 armies can be formed at a time currently. We got no national morale from taking Fort Sumter, unfortunately. We captured 4 supply carts when we accomplished that. And that's it for comments. So our blockade runners did not succeed in getting us money this turn, apparently, but we'll see what they do next turn. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording, make some movements, and I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do. Alright, so here's all the generals that we got. We got Whitting, who is a 3-1-1. Ruggles, 3-1-1. M.J. Thompson is a 4-2-1, so 4 strategy, 2 offense, 1 defense. But what's really cool with this guy, he's got a 15% reduction in supply consumption in mountain, wilderness, swamp, wood, or forest regions. So definitely a western theater kind of guy, or central theater. You can certainly use him up here in the eastern or West Virginia or whatnot. But my strategy in West Virginia is going to be more defensive, so I feel like that'd be a bit of a waste. Plus he's got deep raiders, so he can mount deep raids that can avoid enemy patrols by the use of side tracks and subterfuge, plus 50% to the evasion value of the stack he is in. So that I'm going to move him over to the central. So the first I can go right now is here because Tennessee has not seceded yet. So by the way, the only states that are seceded currently are Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Everybody else is still on the fence. So, part of Missouri. So there's not a whole lot we can do just yet. Plus the recruitment tab, we can only recruit South Carolinian troops. That's it. I am moving my militia out of Suffolk into Norfolk. And then I'm also moving my militia out of Winchester into Harper's Ferry. So I'm moving him there. And then moving all these generals out of Richmond with the exception of Evans, who's a drunkard. So he gets a -1 initiative to any stack he commands. Plus he has a 322. But he gets that minus initiative, which kind of sucks because it means usually he doesn't get the first fire. I'm going to put him as a defensive on Fredericksburg and use him to defend my kind of second line of defense here. Once I have troops I can send there. Otherwise, I'm kind of dispersing my troops either to the border of Tennessee to eventually move them to Western, moving generals up to Clarksburg to relieve this crappy general who pops up here, or up to Manassas and Harper's Ferry to assist with the defense of there. So with that, that's about all that we really did this turn. I didn't do anything with any of these unit cards, although I could certainly draft again, which will increase our conscript, which I think I'll do that again. I like to draft where, because notice when you do draft, you cost you victory points and loyalty. So actually we're going to hold off on that. I think we're okay right now with the bodies, so we'll wait. I do want to use demonstrations though here before we proceed. There. And then probably I do it on rail lines. That's what I like to do. Be a better way to do it. But see, like right here, they cut the rail line here between Baltimore and Wilmington. I don't know if that was necessarily the demonstration or if that was because that actually happened historically in April. The local people in Baltimore did do that. Looking for a place that has multiple points of entry for their rail. Let's do it at Wheeling, because that way it makes it harder for him to reinforce West Virginia. Maybe at least delays him. Okay, so I can do some more open trails apparently. Let me see if there's anything in Missouri I can do. Nowhere worth doing, at least. Probably not this turn, and then I can't do anything over in Texas, so I think we're good for the next turn. Let's proceed. Alright, so went forward, did my moves. Let's go through the events here real quick before we jump into what I did here. Let's see. Civilian demonstrations. New telegraph line, that's from the previous turn, still being built. Our units of field receive a total of 1 re-emplacements from our reserve units. So that'll tell you, by the way, how many reserve units are being pulled from your replacement pool. So that's kind of a good benchmark. Is if you have a large number here, then it's like, oh, maybe I need to put more troops in my reserve units or my reinforcement pool to make sure I stay ahead of that. A lot of my brigs are moving around. Took Harper's Ferry, by the way, and Norfolk. When we took Norfolk, we captured 202 supply carts and 45 crates of ammo, which is awesome. Alright, so let's go through these here. Lincoln's first inaugural address. When the secession of southern states became a fact, Lincoln tried repeatedly to avoid civil war by stating that abolition of slavery was not a cause for war. In his first inaugural address, he said he had no intention to interfere with the institution of slavery where it exists, and the government will not assault you. You can have no conflict with us being the aggressors. this political stance may have lowered secession tendencies. Now, bit of a back history on that. So when Lincoln was elected, I mean, he campaigned on, hey, look, I don't like slavery, I hate it, I find it reprehensible, but the South has a constitutional right to basically maintain it, and so we're not going to go in and strip it from you. We just don't want to expand. Basically, the South interpreted, the election of Lincoln to be, nope, he is going to emancipate slaves, force white women to marry black men, and so on and so forth. And that was part of the stirring up of emotions that kind of got people all spun up into secession fever. By the way, I think Lincoln was the first non-Southerner elected since, like, I don't know, 3 decades or something ridiculous. So it's interesting that the South reacted this way after having basically a majority of Congress as well as the presidency for so many decades. But anyways, all right, so we've got a steel mill. When the war began, the South had almost no armament industry. As chief of ordnance for the Confederacy, Josiah Gorgas built an extraordinary system of acquisition, manufacture, and distribution of arms and ammunition, and vigorously pursued all avenues of blockade running. His leadership and genius for organization provided a great boost to Southern industrial capacity. Coo. I skipped this one here. Let's do this. Alright, Union troops pulled out of the army at Harper's Ferry, but not before setting fire to it. Locals were able to put out the fire and preserve most of the weapons, making machinery for the CSA. Actually, that was a big deal, actually. The Union kind of screwed that up. And what ended up happening, they transplanting all this over to Richmond and used that to build basically their first set of muskets that were going to go to the front lines. So that was a big blunder by the Union, just like Norfolk. All right, so Arkansas secedes. Hooray! Tennessee secedes. Hooray! Some of our ships managed to smuggle cotton bales to foreign harbors. You gain 50. All right, so that's what I was talking about when I was debating on whether doing this export bales. We'd get 15,000 immediately, but we give up the opportunity to get that 50,000. So I said nope, and there you go, 50,000. So that paid off. Beauregard was put in charge of the Army of the Potomac. Union pulls out a Gosport Naval Yard at Norfolk. The Union's hasty pullout from Norfolk Naval Yard, the largest naval station in the country, has provided quite a boost for us. Along with the dock facilities, 2,000 cannon of various caliber, tons of gunpowder, and the supplies that are salvageable, there's the hull of the USS Merrimack, which was burned and sunk but could be raised. We have some ideas for this. By the way, here's the pull that we got here from Norfolk. We got supply, which I'm moving over to Western Virginia. Howard's Battalion, which is a 20-pound artillery battery. This General Admiral Franklin Buchanan, 432, and he gives a 25 move bonus to the whole sea force, so I'm going to move him over to the Mississippi. Here's the CSS Virginia, which was the Merrimack. They renamed it. And then these heavy guns, which they provide 1 point of siege bonus to the whole stack when attacking forts. So that'd be great for sieging a fort if we ever get to that point. So that's pretty cool. All right, and I think that's about it. Okay, so let's go through the movements and so forth really quick. Here's what we're building. A whole bunch of stuff. A lot of flatboats, which I'll show you in a moment as to why. A lot of 6 pounds because I want to build a fort at New Orleans, so all 4 of these is going to go to that. And then I'll need a supply train, and we'll be all set to build that. Part of the reason I'm front-ending this production is that I want to secure New Orleans as soon as possible. So yeah, I'm going to take a hit on some other stuff, but I think securing New Orleans is far more important to me than a little bit of offensive punch. I'm building an HQ, a engineer, and a medic, all in the Army of the Potomac. So the medic provides a bonus to recovery following battle. The HQ is pretty awesome because it gives you a bonus to cohesion recovery, command points, and I think training. Yeah, so +1 to training for any army in that unit, or any unit in that army. And then the engineer increases your entrenchment by like 35%, so 35% quicker. So all 3 of these go in the Army of the Potomac. As you can see, we're building these ranges over in, let's see, so 1 I'm putting here at Messalea because I want to go and try and burn these forts if possible. These 3 here, to give me a little bit of a gap between Valencia and what I have down here. And then I'm building more of those dudes. Where are we at? Adobe walls. So I got 3 guys I'm building here. And I'm going to send them up and try and take out these forts. With the idea being, if I can take out these forts, then I think what it does, it makes it really hard for him to like resupply from west to east, then also send troops west to east. Because that's just a ton, that's a really long trek. So I can burn all these, and then if he wants to rebuild, I'm fine. But it's going to take him a lot longer to get from west to east. Oops. And then let's see here. And then almost all the rest of the troops that we're building are in Missouri and Arkansas. So I'm moving Shelby. We just got Shelby on the map. As you can see, he's a charismatic leader, so he provides +5 max cohesion and a 25% increase in fatigue recovery rate. So this guy is awesome. He provides an 85% chance of retreat in any round. He's a very fast mover, so 25% move bonus, and he's a 25% combat bonus for all cavalry units. So obviously he's more of a cavalry leader. And he's got a 644 rating. So if there's any way for me to get him, so at least 2, 3, or maybe 3-star, I can make him a corps commander, or perhaps a, I don't know if I'd ever make him an army commander, but definitely a corps commander. So I'm moving him over to the Western Theater here, because I think this will be the first foray of things. I want to make sure I lock down Springfield. I do not want to lose Springfield. So build some cavalry here. Building this militia guy here so I can burn this outpost. There's an outpost here, and a depot rather. And once I burn the depot, get him out of the dodge there too. I'm gonna actually try and hold Jefferson City for a little bit. I don't have any delusions that I could actually hold this for a long period of time, but I think the longer I hold that, I think the harder it is for him to build troops in Missouri, because this might be his capital. So, yeah. I don't know, I guess that's my capital? I don't know. I know Springfield's the one where if you lose Springfield, you can't build Missouri troops until you get it back. So, but we'll hold that as long as we can. And then I think what I'm going to ultimately try and do long term, so I built a number of flatboats. So I put one here, one at Island 10, and I put one somewhere else. But what I want to do is build depots here so that I can push up to Charleston, build another depot here, and then attack Cairo. So go here, cross the river, either take Chester or jump across to the rail station here, take Cairo, and then use that as a launching pad to ultimately take St. Louis. So Salem, Chester, and then St. Louis. If things work out, which who knows if they will. And I got a few more supply trains. I'm just moving them over to the Western Theater. Got that cavalry built. I did get some more squadrons of ships, so there you go. I got George Holland's coming on. This guy is reckless, but he also provides a 25% move bonus to whole C4 Center's command, which is nice. And then finally, before we simulate the turn, got him here, but I've also got Carolina Runners, which I'm selling up to the blockade, and I'm going to have them be blockade runners. Hopefully get some money and war supply per turn for as long as they can survive. I do them on defensive posture, retreat if engaged, and evade combat. So with that, let's simulate the turn. It'll be interesting. My last troops forward. Oh, no, he didn't. Okay. My last playthrough, when I was trying out the game still, trying to get a feel for it, he did not attack my troops at Manassas, surprisingly. God, I don't know why he keeps... I don't like that. He keeps hunkering down. And I think it's because all these guys are not active. That's why. I'd like to pull them out so he can't slide by and go down to Fredericksburg, but... Alright, so there's Magruder. Alright, so let me do some moves here. We'll come back and look at the event and see what happened. Alright, so simulated the turn. Let's go through the messages here real quick. Alright, Carolina runners have made it over to the Atlantic blockade. They were able to evade the blockade runners, or the blockade. See if that reaps any benefits. We got 4 regions that we're disrupting things in. We received a total 2 replacements from our reserve units, which I have not checked to see how we're doing here. We have no in reserve for elite. We have no CSA raiders. Alright, so let's see here. That's what we're building. Build a couple sharpshooters this turn. There's your Carolina successfully evaded the enemy. See here, North Carolina seceded from the Union. That's good. John Magruder is organizing a force in Richmond, Virginia. Army of the West is also assembling. Alright, so let's just go east to west. Moving this guy up here to burn that fort. Got 3 over here, so I'm going to send all 3 here to burn those forts. Moving Shelby up to Springfield. I am building depots here at Ozark, Island 10, and New Madrid. Building artillery here. Got those 2 guys up at Jefferson City. I'm burning the depot here as well as trying to tear up the rail line. Sending supply depots over to the west, and then finally for the east, being blockaded right here. I haven't quite figured out whether I'm going to try and deal with that or not. I am moving this guy. He's a reserve that just popped up. We're going to move him up to Fredericksburg. I'm building Mahone's brigade, which is a sharpshooter brigade, so they have a lot of power. And then here's the Army of the Potomac. I am taking these 2 guys and putting them over into Western Virginia because they're simply not contributing anything to the command points over here. Whereas over here they can definitely contribute to this leaderless army here, or leaderless, I guess, unit. And then up here, having Whitting and Smith along with Floyd has reduced the command penalty by 10%, or down to only 10%. So they'll be a little bit easier to maneuver. I will ultimately pull him out though, and replace him with one of the 2 guys I'm moving over here. Once I take Lewisburg, I'll move 1 or 2 of the guys up there to assist. And so with that, I think that's all the events that could happen this turn. Can't build any railways or rivers yet, so... Definitely massing forces there to Alexandria, which is some ways good. Oh, some firearms going over there. Because Harper's Ferry is pretty much undefended right now until I can move the Shenandoah force forward, which I can't do yet. It's got 770. What do we have? 693, so that's good. And here's those specialty units that we built. I put basically one of each in here. What's going on down here? 2 money and 10 war supply to our harbor. Sweet. 40 hits. Oof. Alright, so let's get them back here where I can join him up with our blockade runner. Actually, let's put him in Charleston, because I think Charleston is a level 5. Yeah, I think it's a level 5 harbor. Put everybody in Charleston. Alright, so, 2 money, 10 war supply. I guess that's not too bad. That's for 6 blockade runners, because there's 2 in each. They got pretty tore up, though, so I'm hoping maybe once I add them to this fine gentleman right here, who's got the 35% to evasion value, hopefully that'll help out a little bit. Okay, alright, so these forces finally arrived in Florence. I'm going to move them forward, although I do have... These guys are volunteers, they're not malicious. They won't suffer any kind of morale penalty. Let's get them up. Here's my sharpshooters. They're still working. Send them by rail. They'll get there on day 12. We are currently being blockaded. Alright, so let's go through the events here real quick, and then I'll do my moves and we'll come back. St. Louis Massacre, what is this all about? Union infantry violated Missouri's neutrality to seize the St. Louis Arsenal, the largest supply of weapons in the West. They arrested the state militiamen, who were paraded as prisoners through downtown St. Louis as a public humiliation. The inexperienced Union soldiers clashed with hostile civilians, injuring or killing a large number of men, women, and children. The idea of remaining neutral is now out of the question. General Price has been assigned to command the newly formed State Guard to secure Missouri for the Confederacy. Love it. So here's Homeboy right here. And he's actually active, ready to go, so we can actually use him this turn. Here's Thompson and Winder. They just showed up here. Good timing. And then I've got some horse artillery being built here. Moving supplies up to here. I'm just going to probably bounce back and forth between my depots here with my supply trains. And then I got Shelby up here with the cavalry. Okay, so that happened. Jackson's death. James W. Jackson was the owner of the Marshall House Hotel in Alexandria, Virginia. He was also a prominent secessionist. He commissioned an 18-foot CSA flag, which he flew from a 40-foot flagpole atop his hotel. The flag's size and height meant that it was visible in D.C. On May 24th, Union troops occupied Alexandria. Colonel Elman Ellsworth of the 11th New York Fire Zouaves Regiment was determined to capture the offending flag. Descending from the roof with the flag, Ellsworth was ambushed and killed by a shotgun blast from Jackson. Jackson was killed in turn by one of Ellsworth's troops. Instantly, the North and the South each had their first martyrs. We will avenge Jackson's death. So, by the way, the reason this was so high profile was Colonel Ellsworth had made a name for himself before the war by taking this little Zouave militia / kind of volunteer regiment all over the country and doing like parade offs. So they would do, parades in competition with other militia units and would, always carry the day and win. So he kind of made a name for himself. And so when the war started, he was already a known hero in the North. So by him getting killed, it wasn't just a colonel getting shot by some dude in a bar, or rather in a hotel. this was somebody that the Union, most of the people in the Union already knew, and so they already could associate kind of who it was that had gotten killed. So that's why it was such a big deal in the North. Alright, so anything else of note? New industrial options, good. So we are going to do probably both of these things. Ooh, okay, and then we can do ironworks. Tennessee is just too close to the border to build anything. I do want to do ironworks though, because that'll increase our war supply. Virginia's not really beneficial because, from what I understand, Richmond, because it's blockaded, actually gets hurt from the ironworks. Where's the one? Sorry, I'm looking for arsenals and armories. I want to build ironworks in Louisiana. That's okay. Here we go. Manchester, Virginia, New Orleans. Okay, which one's Manchester, Virginia? Well, I'll figure that out. I'm going to build ironworks though, and then probably next turn do the railroad and the river system, because those are going to be central. Do what we do. New supply units received. New units are on the battlefield. Finish the depots. Okay, so I'm gonna go do my moves here real quick, and then I'll come back. I'll show you what I did. Conclude, do the move, and then conclude the video, and we'll start off with the next one. Thanks. All right, so I'm gonna burn this fort here. We're up here. We're burning all 3 of these forts. Then I decided what I was gonna do. A whole bunch of moving, as you can see here. Moving Shelby up and out of Springfield up to here to start getting military control. Notice we have 100% there, but I would like to actually go get military control there. And I'm moving Thompson here, along with some cavalry here to burn this fort, hopefully. Moving cavalry down here to capture this fort and then burn that as well. Horse artillery being built there. We got some Chickasaw Indian troops being built here. Those will take some time to be utilized though. Moving Price actually up to Springfield, because that is my front line as far as Missouri goes, in the area that I absolutely need to hold. So this is going to be his force. I did downsize it some because I wanted to get the command points down. So I need to give it 8. He only gets it 2 because he's the only one in there, but I'm going to combine him with some of the other generals, notably Winder and so forth. So let's see, how do I put it? Find him, and then okay, so 28 days to get up there, which is pretty crazy. I think maybe if we do this a little bit quicker, 35 days. So there's really no quick way to do this, but we'll do that one. All right, and then not a whole lot going on over here. Supply train going up there. Got 2 of these guys here to get this command point down a little bit. I'm gonna take West Virginia, and then move those 2 generals up there to support here. To be pulling him out. And then that's about it. I got South Carolina troops coming up to the front, but that'll be a while till they're up there. So let's simulate the turn. Oh, and before I forget, going to build more rail pool and going to build ironworks in the coastal cities. So Manchester and then New Orleans. So Manchester is right behind Richmond, right here. Right there. So I think that'll be okay. I mean, if I lose Manchester, the game's pretty much over anyways. So There's a 271 force there right next to West Virginia forces. By the way, burn that depot at Rolla and now move that militia up north to Jefferson City. Alright, cool. So I may move a commander over there just to give him a little bit more command points. Or bring him up to strength, because he's got 19, 20... Our overall power really should be a little over 100, and it's only 83 because we don't have a leader, and we need 20. We're hitting a 20% command penalty decrease. So, but I do have these guys entrenched somewhat, and he's got to cross a river to attack. So I'm not too worried unless he comes from over there. But again, that's just a delay action. I'm not really holding that because I want to keep it. Alright, it's going to take us 15 days to burn that. Burn that one too. I get that one as well. So we'll go over the events in the next episode. Thanks for watching.